L-to-the-izzie Mc-to-the-Guire.
8th grade rocks.
Be an 8th grader and call someone like a Sebi.
Oh, yeah.
They were the same jeans, just darker.
Hey, you kids, cut that out.
Frankie, how'd you get out of the TV? Hey Team Duff, it's Whitt. Thanks so much for listening to Duff Enough, the ultimate Hilary Duff fan podcast. This show is a celebration of the life and career of actress, singer, mother, and all-around icon, Hilary Duff. All right, well, my next guest, I have known them almost my whole life, pretty much. So welcoming to the show now, Sarah and Rachel. To me, y'all are Sarah and Rachel Marston, but they're married now and we're adults. It's weird, but hey guys, welcome to the show.
Hey, Whitt.
Hello.
Can y'all do like a, hi, I'm Rachel. Hi, I'm Sarah. That way they can differentiate your voices.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Sarah.
Hi, I'm Rachel.
There we go. Perfect. All right. Hi, welcome to Duff Enough.
We're
Thank
so
you.
excited to be at Duff Enough.
I can tell. You took notes too. I'm very happy about this.
Yes, we had to be official because Whitt, you're so official. And so we had to impress you.
I don't know about that. But okay, so I said I've known you almost my whole life, which is true.
Yes.
And that's crazy. I don't know if I knew you guys when Lizzie McGuire was like a thing. Did I? Yeah.
Right.
I feel like we were probably friends before Lizzie,
We were.
BL, before Lizzie.
Yeah.
And then your dad quit coaching. So the reason we knew each other is because Whitt's dad was the head coach and our dad was an assistant coach. And so then when Whitt's dad wasn't the head coach anymore, we had some years where we were not as close.
I know.
He
That was
moved
heartbreaking,
with
by the way.
Right. Yeah, he moved to a different school that was in his hometown. So we kind of lost touch
I know.
until we were all older.
Until it was AL after Lizzie.
After Lizzie.
And then we picked back up when we were in high school. And now we've tried to make it a point to get together every year.
Seems like it, yeah.
We've tried, yeah.
I do have these random memories of certain like early 2000s. Like we watched Confessions of a Teenage Drama Queen one time. Do y'all
Yes.
remember that?
Yes, love that
Do
movie.
you remember watching that together?
I feel like
Was it at your house?
No, it was at
it
Katie.
was. I was gonna
Jason's
say
house.
it was in the
Oh.
basement, right? Or
I don't
like
know.
there was some kind of like rec room
Yeah.
or something. We watched it in.
Okay.
Okay.
I think so, yeah.
What I remember is Whitt had this disco ball that
Oh, yeah,
he
the
would
disco
plug
ball.
in, and we would turn off all the lights, and the disco ball would be going, and we would be dancing around to all of the Disney songs,
Mm-hmm.
and that was the most fun ever.
Yeah.
And I still have that disco ball. I found it a couple years ago.
That makes me so happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I don't really know like what y'all's Lizzie fandom was. I mean, I assume that you guys were pretty big fans, like everyone.
Yes, of course. We were like the biggest, especially because we felt like Lizzie kind of represented how we were feeling at that
Mm-hmm.
time.
So yeah, just so relatable. And even now, when I went back and watched the episodes that we're gonna talk about,
Iconic.
I was just really impressed by how they really still hold up in terms of like relatability and just they have such good lessons, but without being preachy. You know, so many shows go so heavy-handed.
Yeah, like
if
the
they're
music
trying
change
Yeah,
at
if
the
they're
end of the
trying to-
episode, like the moral.
Right.
to
Yeah.
incorporate a lesson, but it just really holds up so well.
Yeah. Okay, well, I do have 3 questions to kind of get a sense of your Hilary fandom here a little bit. So, first question, what is your favorite Hilary Duff movie?
Mine, I think, would probably have to be the Lizzie McGuire movie. The reason being, it was just so fun. Like, that movie is just so fun, and it was so cool to see these people we had been watching on TV make the leap to the big screen. And there was just something so, like, fascinating to me, like, at the time it came out about that. So it's always held like a special place in my heart because it was just like larger than life.
It was huge. It was a huge deal. I mean, I remember going to see it at the movie theater.
Yes, of
Oh,
course.
yeah.
I mean,
great.
hey now.
Hey, now. This is what dreams are made of.
So my favorite Hilary Duff movie would have to be A Cinderella Story with Chad Michael Murray because I feel like it's pretty self-explanatory, but I'm like the biggest One Tree Hill fan ever.
Okay.
Now,
Cool.
although I'm not Team Lucas, I am Team Nathan.
Okay.
As far as the Scott boys,
Okay.
shout out to the One Tree Hill fans that might be listening.
I didn't watch that show, so.
Okay,
yeah.
it's so good. But I just love that movie.
It's a great one.
It's
Yeah.
great.
Okay, next question. What is your favorite Hilary Duff song?
Mine, I really thought about this, and it would have to be Beat of My Heart.
Oh my
Because
goodness.
it's such a, like, the music video for it was so cool.
It's trippy.
The first time I saw it, I remember being like, my mind was blown because it was like, this is Lizzie McGuire, but she's like going this kind of different direction. And yeah, it's just such a fun like dance song.
Right.
I rewatched it last night too and was like, I'm right. I'm gonna say this.
Right. Well, and it was like all the glass and like she even like
her
it was like a
wardrobe
character
in it is so cool too.
Yeah. That was her big teeth phase a little bit. Though,
yeah.
So, okay.
But I just have to say, I know she got a lot of criticism for her big teeth, but I loved the big teeth.
Okay.
As a person with smaller teeth, I enjoy a big tooth.
Okay.
And big
like
teeth.
That. Well, she's had some history with her teeth falling out and such, so yeah.
My favorite is Come Clean because it was such a great song, but also it was the theme song for Laguna Beach.
Right.
And I loved Laguna Beach as well. All of the early 2000s shows I was all about. So that is my favorite one.
Last question here. What is your favorite episode of Lizzie McGuire?
I really can't pick a favorite episode.
It's okay.
They're all so good. You know, I thought it would be easier after rewatching some. And then I was like, I really can't narrow it down to just one because I like them all.
That's fair.
I kind of feel the same way, but I picked this one because it is iconic. And so, of course, that Aaron Carter's coming to town.
Right.
Because it started the whole Lizzie, or not Lizzie, but Hilary versus Lindsay, like feud. And, you know, I just, any pop culture from the early 2000s, let me restate 500 times. I'm all about it.
That's good. Yeah. Well, I didn't pick out a trivia question for you guys, but there's also a Quizzy McGuire question. And one of the episodes I did, like, I asked someone if they could name all of the girls that were on the iconic Vanity Fair cover.
Oh.
Can you name them
Can I
all?
name?
Yeah.
I can name several. Okay. Alexis Bledel.
Uh-huh.
Evan Rachel Wood.
Yep.
Lindsay Lohan. Hilary Duff. Oh, okay. I can only name four.
Was Raven Simone on there?
Raven was on there. Yeah. How many?
There's two more for sure.
Two more. Mandy
no, there's
Moore?
3 more. Yeah, Mandy Moore. It's going to give it away if I give a hint because they're so, like, iconic.
Okay, name the ones
Who
you said
did I
again.
say?
You said Alexis Bledel.
Yeah, I don't know. I just like
Hilary
jumped on
Duff.
her
Did you
first
say
for some
Hilary
reason.
Duff?
Yeah, I said Hilary. And then I said Lindsay, Evan Rachel Wood, Mandy Moore,
Raven Simone.
This is a
You're
struggle.
so
And
close.
2 is, like, maybe a hint.
Oh, it's Mary-Kate and Ashley.
Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen.
Oh my gosh, I
Yeah.
feel so bad.
Yeah.
We're also
Okay.
Mary-Kate and Ashley stans.
We are, so I feel really bad that
Yeah,
I left
wow.
them out.
It's okay. This is about Hillary, so it's fine. It's
Yeah.
fine.
You're right.
That's
We've
true.
got Hilary
Yeah.
on the brain and no one else.
Yeah. We all had great answers for all your favorites there, and we've got 5 episodes to talk about today. So are y'all ready to jump into that?
We are ready to
Okay.
dive in.
Throw on some low-rise jeans and toss in that butterfly hair clip. It's time for Let's Talk Lizzie.
So we are doing 5 episodes from season 2, and they are, let's see, we've got 11 through 15 here. The first episode is called Over the Hill. It premiered July 12th, 2002. And when I saw the thumbnail for this on Disney Plus, I was like, oh, I don't think I like this one. This is the one where Lizzie thinks about her future. But then I watched it and I was like, oh my goodness, this is so relevant for me now.
Yes, I thought the same when I saw the thumbnail. I was like, meh.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. I think it's so pertinent to the situation.
Mm-hmm. And this one has those dream sequences, which we actually see a lot through the show. We start and we get to see Lizzie being like her girly girl self, which I love. And I think that's a great aspect to her personality.
Yes, and I just have to say, the opening scene, it had her iconic pant and belt purse that I wanted so bad. Like, that purse was it at
Yes.
that time. I mean, nothing was cooler than that purse.
Her fashion, I mean, man.
I
Yeah.
tried
Killed
so
it.
many times to like crimp my hair in parts of it and like straighten it in
You had
some
bangs.
pieces. I had bangs,
Mm-hmm.
but it never looked as good as Lizzie's did.
But so we see her like talking about her nails at the beginning of this episode, and she's asking them to like describe it, and they're gold nails, I guess. I wrote down some quotes here. Lizzie says something about throw your hands in the air, wave them like you just don't care. Did we not say that a million times?
Yes,
Oh,
and
yeah.
was that not a commercial on Disney Channel?
I think it was.
thought
It
so,
Yeah.
was, and the L-to-the-izzie
Mc-to-the-Guire.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Yep, that was on a commercial too. Gordo is like talking to them about the dictionary, which I was like, I cannot believe we went here.
Right. I love whenever he was like, to translate English into girlish. And then I thought, Gordo.
I know.
And then he corrects himself. He goes, I guess that's not very PC.
I know.
And I was like, whoa, I didn't even know what PC was at
Right.
the time, but watching it now, it's hilarious.
There's
Yes.
so much. There's so much stuff that they throw in here for adults that you just didn't get as
Yes.
kids. So we also see a girl named Kara come in, and she's gotten on the Olympic team.
Gunther.
Kara Gunther, okay. And she's gotten on the Olympic team, which is going to kind of set in motion this storyline where Lizzie's like trying to think about her future. Let's jump over to Matt's storyline for a second. We'll kind of knock that out. I loved Matt's storyline in this episode, which a lot of times I don't, but it's just because I don't like scary movies. And as a kid, I was always so scared of everything. Like, oh my gosh, I could relate to this. But he watches a scary movie with Sam and Joe. So yeah, how are y'all with scary movies as kids? Because I couldn't do it.
I loved them so much. To plug like another Disney show, So Weird.
Oh my gosh.
Was like my favorite
on
whenever
Disney
it was out. Yeah.
Also to plug a DCOM, Don't Look Under the Bed.
So scary.
One of my favorites on my watch list.
We love, but our mom loves scary movies.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we like grew up watching scary movies, and so to this day we still love scary movies.
Gotcha. Back to Lizzie though. So she's on the phone. We get a three-way call. Love the three-way calls.
Love it. And let me just say, when she's scraping her tongue with the gum scraper, I wanted one so bad from the dentist, and
Same.
I was like, why? Well, the dentist not give me a tongue scraper.
What?
I thought it was the coolest thing ever. I thought I needed it.
I didn't know what that was.
I didn't know what it was before that episode, and
Me
then
either.
I also like felt like I needed one. And then I love the way that they do the split screen. Like it's not just all like vertical split screen. They do like different effects with it, and it's just so entertaining.
Right. And in this episode, well, in this moment, Gordo is talking about how he has a film screening this weekend. Miranda has a cello recital, which I was like, I didn't know Miranda was a cello player.
Super
but,
random.
Yeah.
I would not have picked that instrument for her.
Yeah. Lizzie also sees kids overachieving on TV later.
Oh yeah, every
night.
channel she flips
Yeah.
through, it's an overachiever.
Of course. So then she has this dream, and she's dreaming about her life. It's in October of 2036. So we went way into the future. She's working at a place called Burger Planet. She reminded me of Jennifer Coolidge in Legally Blonde.
100%.
That's
They
what I thought
definitely took inspo from that look.
She had little glasses. Her hair was up. Yeah. And even at the fast food place, she's watching TV again, and she sees Miranda on TV playing the cello.
Yes, and also just let me say, I love how Miranda has full-on gray hair.
Oh, I love yes, and she's
It's so
horrified. When
So long.
when she thinks that that's how Lizzie imagined her. She was like my abuela.
Yeah. Yes.
This might be skipping ahead a little bit, but when Gordo drives away and there's that futuristic sound, but it's just a normal car.
Yeah. Yeah. I was trying to see, is this a flying car? What are we doing here? But Gordo does show up in a limo, and he's in the back seat. Gordo is now, a Spielberg director, so that's great for him. And Lizzie is, trying to talk to him when she finds out it's him in the back seat. He has a mustache, barely.
Yeah, a little pencil thin mustache.
Yeah.
His little hair is slicked down.
And he's being fed French fries by
Curly
a handler.
fries.
Curly fries.
Yes.
Oh, you took good notes.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It always made me want curly fries.
Yeah, and he's being fed them, and he's like, fry me.
Fry. But yeah. So Lizzie doesn't get to talk to Gordo, and then she wakes up. She gets really scared, and she runs to her parents' room, which is when we see Matt in the parents' bed. So we get two horror movie references.
Yes.
And first, Lizzie is saying that when Matt wakes up in the middle of the night, she's like, Sixth Sense here is seeing dead people again.
Yes, I loved it.
I loved it because I'd never seen
The Sixth Sense. Yeah.
Right.
So then watching it now, I was like, love that reference.
Yes.
But then Lizzie also, when she goes into her parents' bedroom, she has another line from Silence of the Lamb.
The hello,
yeah.
Clarice.
Right.
Yeah.
And with that one, I was like, Matt, you should definitely not be watching Silence of the Lambs
Right.
yet.
Which I didn't know any of these references again.
Neither did
so.
we at the time.
Right. At the time, no. Now, iconic.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, Sam and Joe, the parents, they go have a chat with Lizzie. And I wrote down this line. You probably wrote it down too. But she says, well, I've been singing Oops, I Did It Again into a hairbrush. Other people have been doing, A, B, C, D. And I was just like, oh my gosh. The amount of times they reference Britney in this show, I'm just like, thank you.
Yes.
Yes.
They respect Britney.
They do. Ugh, love it. Sam brings up rhythmic gymnastics as something that Lizzie did, which that's a great episode.
Love that episode.
It is.
They basically tell her, though, that she's going to figure it out along the way, which I was like, oh, the theme song.
Right.
And she doesn't need to know what she wants to do right now. But that doesn't work for Lizzie. She's still, set on finding one thing. Matt's storyline for a second, the B storyline. Melina and Lanny come over and they work on this ghost problem and they do feng shui. Oh my gosh, like Joe was not having it.
Right. Because they have just the most surface level knowledge of what feng shui is. Mm-hmm. So they just go crazy, rearranging the furniture, turning it upside down.
But I appreciated that they had a fiddle leaf fig in their living room. In the McGuire household.
Yeah.
They were very ahead of their time.
They were.
Joanna Gaines could never.
I love it. Oh my gosh. Okay. So that's what's going on with Matt. And in a little while, we'll wrap his story up at the end because it kind of wraps up with the whole episode. But Lizzie, meanwhile, is still trying to find her career. But basically at this point, she comes to her senses and is like, this is kind of ridiculous. This is really silly. And Gordo and Miranda are, there for her. And Lizzie also dreamed of being a stay-at-home mom in the future, and they have her as like Mrs. McGuire, basically, as Joe.
She has the same hair, the same like
little
glasses, and like outfit.
And then who's her husband?
Gordo.
I know,
that was so cute.
Which I totally thought Ethan was going to walk through the door.
I know, me too. And then I love that they just like hug so sweetly when he's home from work.
Mm-hmm. But we're planting little seeds for what's to come with Gordo and Lizzie, I feel like, in season 2. And then to wrap up the whole episode here, so Sam's friends who have the chimp come over and pretend to be Ghostbusters because Matt, it's gotten out of control, his fear here. And they do this weird dance. They're dressed like Ghostbusters. They do this dance on their back deck, and then one of them falls through the deck, which I was like, what? And there are puppies under the deck. That's the weird noise that I guess Matt's been hearing.
Yes.
And I didn't even realize that he'd been hearing a weird noise.
No, I don't think it was ever alluded to before this moment.
Yeah.
I think it was kind of vague, and then it was like, let's explain that's why he's been afraid, because he's been hearing these puppies.
Yeah, there was a lot of animal work in this episode of LIZZIE MCGUIRE.
The chimp, the puppies, and those were big puppies.
They were, yeah.
That was not a newborn situation.
They were definitely ready for a home.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And we never got a resolution, like, after that episode, like, they were never mentioned again.
Right.
So, I mean, I'm assuming they all just, like, went to good homes.
Yeah. One thing that I have said on this podcast already, and as I've been watching this whole show, it's like, we're just not going to question it because there's so many things that happen where it's just like, whatever.
Each episode, I mean, there are like the overarching storylines, but then like really each episode is just like a standalone story for the most part.
Right. We haven't talked much about Animated Lizzie. Are y'all Animated Lizzie fans?
Oh, I love Animated Lizzie in some episodes. In some episodes, kind of like with Matt, I feel like I don't love the lines that they do for Animated Lizzie.
But I will say, I do love at the end of every episode when they show the bloopers. I love that Animated Lizzie also has bloopers.
It's her own blooper. Yeah.
Because I do appreciate that.
Yeah, it's fun that like they chose to do that because obviously they had to create bloopers for Animated Lizzie.
Right, yeah. Well, the reason I bring up Animated Lizzie is because she has a line at the end of the show, and she's like, maybe puppies could be my new career, I guess, like alluding to a veterinarian, or like she says, painting the dog's nails. And then she says, but first I will have to answer the age-old question, who let the dogs out? Woof, woof, woof.
Yeah.
We know that song. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
That song was played at every single assembly at our elementary school.
Same.
And I'm pretty sure to this day, it is still played at every assembly at our elementary school.
Yeah, and
shout out to Lawrenceburg Public School.
Well, we played it at our Cub Run, which was like our little fundraiser.
Yes.
And I wouldn't doubt that they still play that to start the Cub Run every year, even though kids now wouldn't know who the Baja Men are for anything.
No.
Well, any other thoughts on this episode? Like, message-wise, I thought this was so great, and it really struck me now as an adult. I think as a kid, I would have been like, career. Like, especially, I was a lot younger than Lizzie, even. And we did have those career day things in school, but I feel like we're all just trying to, like, figure it out, you know?
For sure. It was a very good episode, and, you know, you just can't judge an episode by the thumbnail. That's what we learned in here.
That is what we learned. That is so what we learned. Oh, my goodness. All right. Our next episode is Best Dressed for Much Less. It premiered July 19th, 2002. And I feel like this episode is super memorable. Like, people remember this one for sure.
Especially those jeans that she's trying to get from Style Shack. Oh my
gosh. The Style Shack, though.
Loved.
Which, there's some continuity issue here. Because the first time Lizzie tells her mom how much the jeans are, she says they're $110.
Yes, and then they were $65.
Like, what happened?
Yeah,
Did they get marked down? Like, what's going on? So they kind of messed up there, but Anyway, so this episode is about they're voting for class favorites, so superlatives basically. But Gordo like definitely always makes the point to say like it's not that big of a deal. Like every episode, he's like popularity is not a big thing. All this. But in this episode, he actually wants to be most photographed, which I was like,
which is an unofficial superlative.
Right.
Which let me just say,
Rachel, I think even though this episode came out, what year did you say?
2002.
I think that it really planted a seed in Rachel's mind. So yeah, do you want to tell what you did?
Why is this?
So one year, I guess I didn't know where the inspiration came from, but obviously watching this back, it was David Gordon. I also got in like every club picture.
She decided
at the school
because you flip to the back of the yearbook, you look for your name, you see all the pages you're on.
Oh.
Well, one year Rachel decided I'm gonna get in every club photo, regardless of whether or not I'm in the actual club, and she did.
I did, and I ended up having to pay like $20 to for them to Photoshop me out of some.
Oh yeah,
but some I got to stay in that they didn't realize that I really wasn't in.
Yeah, some of the larger clubs that had enough members she could kind of blend in.
Well, because what they would do is they would call all of the clubs to the gym, and so then they would say, okay, SGA, go sit down. Okay, Key Club. So you would go, and I would just go and sit with the people.
Oh, why not?
And so then the teacher who was in charge of the yearbook, she realizes.
Oh no.
She was.
I
so
wasn't in a
mad.
lot of clubs. I have to say, I was in a few clubs.
Right.
She was in probably at least 4 or 5 different clubs.
Yes.
But yeah, she realized, and then told Rachel she would have to pay because they were going to have to now Photoshop Rachel out of the clubs that she wasn't really in.
That is a great story. I'm glad I gave you this episode.
Yes.
Not even knowing that.
It worked out.
It did, yeah. But that's what Gordo wants to do. And Lizzie thinks that she can win most poised, which is hilarious because Lizzie is a klutz.
Yes.
And Gordo points that out very quickly. But then Miranda is like, ooh, I could be most poised. So Miranda's going for that. And Lizzie decides to go for best dressed. Yeah. Lizzie tells her mom that she wants to win best dressed. And her mom says, that's so materialistic. Be cool if you won, though.
I love that because
Joe.
I feel like that is so relatable too, is because she doesn't want Lizzie to be materialistic, but then she is excited for her that she could possibly win.
Well, and then you find out that Jo herself almost won best dress, but then Coco beat her.
Coco, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Who Sam was like, oh, she was hot. And I was like, whoa, Sam, calm down.
I know. He was just eating that apple.
Yeah. Sam is such a dad. It's so much. Okay. Now, at first, Jo offers to help Lizzie with the outfit situation, and she's like, I'll wash things for you or iron things. And then Lizzie says, no, there's a new pair of hip huggers at the Style Shack, and it's $110. And Jo's like, no, this house runs on a budget. All right. Matt's storyline, really quick. I don't really care for his storyline in this episode, but he's trying to be a star. He got on this Uncle Wendell show, which is like a kid's show, and then we see him being mobbed by kids around town. Oh, yeah. I just didn't really care for this one.
The best part of his storyline in that episode is whenever he's like, Dad, were you in
the Secret Service? Secret Service?
Yeah.
Yes.
And that was the funniest part. And then he has a flashback where he's thinking of himself in the Secret Service, and then he goes, I'm not at liberty to discuss that.
I know.
That was the best part of that storyline was just that ending.
I made it about
for sure.
that. That's pretty much it for Matt's storyline. We're not going to waste time on that. Back to Lizzie. So Jo has offered to take Lizzie bargain hunting to find outfits for best dressed.
Oh, yeah. Which to Lizzie sounds like the worst thing.
But that's a cool thing. Especially now, right?
Yeah, but definitely back then because our mom definitely made us shop at the sale section, and it was a little
yeah.
But
it is
now,
when you've got
it's very trendy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She comes up with this idea with Miranda and Gordo to put their money together because now the pants are only $65, which I'm just like, whatever. So they put their money together and they're going to buy the pants. Lizzie's going to wear them and they're going to hide the tags, make sure she doesn't have any spills. And as soon as I say oh, we're not going to have any spills, I'm like, oh, you're going to.
Here we go. Yeah.
And then they're going to return them and get their money back. Well, Lizzie goes and gets the pants. Jo goes bargain hunting, and we got to talk about Jo's trip to the mall or to the bargain store
with that tall woman and the cat sounds.
I love it.
The little cat fight. She was having a thing with this taller woman who they were just eyeing each other about clothes, and it looked like Black Friday. I have to say,
did.
when they were standing in line, I was like, whoa. Well, Joe finds some outfits for Lizzie, and meanwhile, she went and got the jeans. And when Joe shows her the outfits, she actually pulls out a pair of jeans that Lizzie's like, oh, these are kind of cool. And basically, they were the same jeans, just darker.
They were. They were just like a dark wash.
It's like some cute studs.
Yeah, and then I liked, Lizzie was thinking about it, and her little animated Lizzie was like wearing the jeans.
Yeah,
I thought that was cute.
which was great because we always see her in the same outfit, pretty much. Lizzie's still kind of like, these are cute, but she's going to wear the other pants. And she goes to school, she changes in the bathroom, and she puts on like this, did you make a note about, it was like all butterflies. Which we love the butterfly clips always, but I was like, this is very metamorphosis,
That's
Lizzie.
what I thought.
Mm-hmm. So when Lizzie comes out of the bathroom in the jeans, they link arms, Miranda, Lizzie, and Gordo, which I remembered this so vividly.
Yes, and state their superlatives that they're going for.
Yes. And then what happens? Okay, so Miranda trips on the janitor's.
It's very like Wizard of Oz.
Yes, Miranda trips on the janitor's broom.
Mop or broom, yeah.
And this guy tries to catch her. He's holding a smoothie. The smoothie flies in the air and it lands on Lizzie's pants. So.
Oh yeah, just all over, completely
And of course it's red.
Ruining them and ruining any chance of like best dress, ruining her being able to return the pants and get her, Gordo, and Miranda's money back that she borrowed from them. It also
ruined Miranda's most poised because she tripped.
Yeah. So then Lizzie has to put on the jeans that her mom bought her, which, we knew that was going to happen. I mean, come on.
Oh, yeah.
And people are complimenting her on them, which is,
left and right.
Yeah, like she put on those jeans and people were like, whoa, Lizzie.
Yeah, it took a second look.
Yeah. At the end of the episode, we see Lizzie at home and we see Joe stocking the kitchen cabinets with the toilet paper because she ran out of room. She bought the big bulk 50 roll.
Oh, yeah. She's like got to find room in the kitchen.
And Lizzie is helping her out, and they talk about who won, which Claire won.
Well, and then I will say I teared up about whenever Lizzie said whatever it was about how she wasn't with her mom.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Buying the bargain clothes.
Yeah.
Let's see if I wrote it here.
Yeah, go ahead and see if you wrote it.
Oh, yeah. Well, I didn't write the exact quote, but she was just like, people were asking me, where did I get these pants? And I didn't know because I didn't go with you shopping. And then she says, next time I don't want to miss out on that. And she's like, I appreciate everything you do for me. And I was like,
yes. And
Lizzie.
see, that's like
very sweet.
That's the thing about like Lizzie came to that realization to like talk to her mom about it.
Yeah. And I love that Joe never finds out about the other pants too.
I know, but I will say I couldn't remember if she did or not when I was rewatching, and it did give me a little stress.
I know, because I was like, oh, this is going to end bad. Like, Joe's going to be sad.
Because Lizzie has to like kick the bag under the bed whenever she's bringing her the clothes she found.
Because we do see episodes where Joe does get her feelings hurt by Lizzie, but this was not one of them. So, and the very end of this episode, I love how it ends. So Lizzie says the hip huggers, the new ones were $65, the bargain pants were $12.95. Afternoon hiding toilet paper and laughing with my mom, priceless. And you see the text on the screen.
Yes.
So good. So like the writers in this show, I'm just like, this is so good.
Yeah.
So, yeah. All right. The next episode is called You're a Good Man, Lizzie McGuire. Shout out to Charlie Brown, because that's where the title comes from. It premiered July 26th, 2002. And I remembered this episode, or I remember this premiering the same night as Gotta Kick It Up. Y'all, my memory.
Yes.
So this episode is about the school dance coming up, the spring fling. I feel like we have a million school dances on Lizzie McGuire, but you got to.
Always happen one.
You got to. And Miranda wants to be on the committee. Miranda and Lizzie both do, and they don't have dates. Oh, I wrote down something about how Lizzie says that Josh Hartnett.
Hartnett.
Yeah.
I didn't know who that was.
He was
Josh
such a
Hartnett.
heartthrob
He was a
of like
teen
the early
heartthrob.
2000s.
Okay. Oh, she was saying she didn't have a date, but does Josh Hartnett go to this school or something? No. We see Mr. Mosby as the principal.
Yes, I wrote him down. I was like, Mr. Mosby.
Yeah, because the funny thing about that is, Lizzie McGuire was on the air, time gap, and then he was Mr. Mosby on The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody.
Yeah. So Lizzie and Kate wind up being in charge thanks to the principal. He assigns them the spring fling, which I was like, really? Of course Kate's going to be in charge. And so they are searching for where the dance is going to be out in the schoolyard or whatever. And there is this statue of the first principal for their school, Walter Patterson. It's
and
like
I love
a bust.
the quote.
Yeah. You want to say it? Go for it.
Hey, you kids, cut that out.
Yeah. And I remembered that so well.
I did too. Me and my friends would say that all the time.
Yeah.
Just all the time, obnoxiously.
Yeah. But Kate wants to move the bust, and she pushes it out of the way. It falls and breaks. And Kate does not care. She is like, Yeah, which is so Kate. And she's like, they're not going to, or she's like, I'm not going to tell anyone. You're not going to tell anyone. And no one sees. It's just her and Lizzie. But of course, Lizzie, she's like the truth teller. She's like Miss Goody-Goody.
She feels
she has
the
some moral
guilt
compass.
over it.
Yeah, immediately stressed out about this. And we actually see her like she's hiding it in her backpack. It's very strange. It's like, how'd you put that thing in your backpack? That was a really big head. So that's going on with Lizzie. Miranda has a date for the dance, Cody Pearson, who we've never heard of. And that's kind of the running joke in the episode. They're like, who is Cody Pearson? And he asked Miranda on this date. And I didn't remember that we even got to see them. And I thought, or see him. Yeah. And I thought we weren't going to. Like, I thought that was going to be the joke at the end.
Yeah.
So, and we saw him and I was like, what? Who are you? Never see him again in the show. So.
No, it was almost like we could imagine that he was like somebody who had just moved there and then maybe he like moved away or something.
Yeah. When Lizzie tells Miranda and Gordo what happened with the head of the statue, Gordo's like, no, you're not going to tell anyone. And Miranda's kind of like, no, you need to rat out Kate. They try to fix it with gum. And like, wow, like my jaw hurt for them because it made me think of like that. I don't know which gum it was.
Hubba Bubba.
Yes.
I know exactly
and
what
it's
you're
like
about.
Your jaw would hurt after chewing it.
It was so big and like dense
that
you had to chew and chew and chew for it to even like soften up at all.
And they put so much gum on that thing because the head like split in half at one point.
Yes, that's when they tried to fix it together.
So, but that doesn't work. And we also see Kate like taking credit for the statue because people are like, good, this is great.
Right. They get, they're in trouble because no one has confessed to this vandalism.
Right. Yeah. Which they get called to an assembly and the principal is like, somebody needs to confess or we're not going to have the school dance or something. So we know where this is going. Let's jump to Matt's story here for a second. In this episode, Matt and Lanny are trying to get bikes, which I didn't really love this one, but I kind of thought like the neighbor was kind of funny.
Right.
But,
Mrs. Carabino.
Ooh. Drop that name.
Yeah. They're kind of afraid of her because she's really weird. She has like bald cats.
Yes.
And like they dread going over there, but they need that money so they can get the bike.
Yeah. So they clean out her attic, which I was like, wow, y'all, like they just took everything out basically. Like it was empty. So
they cleaned it out.
They did. And she pays them, but it wasn't enough. And so they buy a bike and they share it. That wasn't going to work out. And it doesn't. Like Lanny rides off and then Matt's just sitting there. And it kind of comes between, like the bike comes between Matt and Lanny's friendship. And I was like, oh. Yeah. And they wind up like calling each other at the end. And he's like, can we just like sell the bike? And they decide to start an ostrich situation or something.
As you do.
Yeah.
As you do.
The logical next
a business.
step.
Yeah. And so that's kind of how that goes. I don't really have any other thoughts on Matt here. So Lizzie has another nightmare about the head, which she has so many nightmares in these episodes.
She really, Lizzie operates at a high level of stress.
She does.
It's true. She does.
I can relate.
Yeah. Yeah. But in this nightmare, it's like Miranda and Gordo's heads are talking to Lizzie. We see Lizzie in the bed, and then it's kind of like the little devils on your shoulder, basically. Oh, yeah. Also, the little head, the principal's bust, like, pops up in between Miranda and Gordo at one point.
It says, hey, you kids, cut that out.
Yep. So Lizzie goes into the principal's office, and we actually don't see her, like, talking to the principal about it. We don't see her confess.
Right. They were building a little suspense because they, watching it when you're younger, or maybe even some people just watching it the first time, you might think she is going to rat on Kate.
Right. And so Lizzie, she lies and says that she takes the blame. She says she broke the head statue, and then we find out that, the dance is back on, but Lizzie can't go. So at the very end of the episode, Lizzie is crying to Joe, and I was like, Hilary, get these tears out, girl. Like,
listen, I loved...
Where was her Emmy?
Right?
The funniest thing about that scene is the way that we, the audience, know exactly what she's talking about. But to Joe, who has heard none of this until this moment, it makes absolutely no sense at all. Because she's just saying random snippets like, and I don't want to go to Canada, and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And Joe is like, okay, wait, what in the world is going on? Like, you're clearly very upset.
She's like, okay, there's a statue. So, But Joe is going to try to help her, obviously, and then the doorbell rings. At first, it's Gordo, and then it's Miranda and Cody Pearson.
Yes.
We get to see.
Cody Pearson is like, he walks in, and then Miranda has to mouth to Lizzie, like, this is him. Yeah. And then she's like, oh, hi, Cody. Like, as though she knew who he was the whole time, even though this is clearly the first time she's laid eyes on him, and she's, like, pretending like she already knew who he was.
Right. And then more people show up.
Ethan Kraft shows up with 2-liter soft drinks in each hand. He's holding them very strangely.
Yeah.
Like by the
yeah.
bottom, and the top is going up like almost to the crease of his arm, like where his elbow connects. And that's how he's walking in holding
And
them.
then he walks in with Larry Tudgman, who he is like, you know, he says something really weird, like, we come bearing libations, or something.
And I was
really
like,
cheesy.
whoa.
He's wearing a little beret, Larry Tudgman is.
Poor Larry Tudgman.
Oh, the Tudge.
Yeah.
And then there's a dance party in the backyard. We see Kate all alone at the dance, and she's like, where is everybody? I don't know if y'all said this line, but basically Ethan's like, someone says, since Lizzie couldn't go to the party, they're bringing the party to her.
I think it was Ethan.
I think it was.
And the dance in the backyard, though, like Lizzie and that
it
boa,
was-
they were
It
getting
was
down.
fire.
Yeah.
Which I couldn't believe that.
Like, everybody showed up to
It
their
was,
house.
I know, and it was a little out of character because especially in season 1, like Lizzie is so embarrassed by her parents, like she would never have wanted the whole school over at her house.
Yeah.
But you kind of just forget about it. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, yeah. This was another fun episode.
It was.
You know, message-wise, I guess it's just kind of like tell the truth, but
Tell the truth, and people will recognize you're a good person.
yeah,
Or something.
so,
Yeah.
The next episode is called Just Like Lizzie. It premiered on August 9th, 2002. That premiered on my birthday.
Oh.
What?
How
Y'all,
old did you turn that day?
2002, 8.
I would have been 11.
And I was 9.
So I guess I was 8.
yeah.
I just want to say my only note for this episode was the single white female episode.
Oh, 100%.
Because
what?
The
Single
single
white
white female. It's this movie, which is basically the plot line of this episode.
Okay.
It's very creepy.
Well, I remember this episode being creepy. And
It
when I saw
was.
this
I
thumbnail, I was
remembered
like,
it.
no. I was like, I don't want to
Yes.
watch this one.
And this one infuriated me.
Oh, yeah.
Beyond belief.
I remembered it almost line for line. Like, as I was
Same.
watching
Sevy.
it. Yeah.
Yes, and I thought, okay, I cannot
Cringe.
wait to be in middle school and like be a Sevy and like be an 8th grader and call someone like a Sevy.
Oh, yeah. For
But
sure.
it's so cringy now, though. Like, when she said Sevy, I was like, oh, gosh, because we never said that.
No, we never
nobody
did.
ever said that. That was clearly like the writers were trying to like come up with slang
Yeah.
that an 8th grader would use.
Yeah, not true. And that's how the episode actually starts. They're talking about, ooh, we're in 8th grade now. And, like, Lizzie says, 8th grade rocks, which I was like,
Yeah.
oh, my gosh. And Lizzie says that she's met a Sevy who reminds her of herself. And we see the Sevy. Her name is Andy. And
Her brown hair.
Her brown hair. Do you think the brown hair was a wig or the blonde hair was a
Oh,
wig?
the
brown
brown.
The
was
brown.
a wig.
Okay, yeah, for sure. Ethan tells Lizzie that she's looking good this year. Oh, Ethan. And Lizzie's like, back at ya. So the little bit of
Yeah,
confidence
and
there.
then she's like,
Confidence.
wait, what? Did I just say that to Ethan Kraft?
Yep. And basically, Andy is saying that Lizzie is her role model. She's like,
yeah.
you're my role model.
She goes, you're more than a friend. You're my role model.
And it gets creepier from there. So let's jump to Matt's storyline and knock that out because it's fine.
Yeah.
He's in Wilderness Cadets, which is basically the
Yeah,
equivalent
and
to Boy Scouts.
so worried that he's going to have to go back to Bunny.
Bunny Cadets.
Cadets.
Yeah. So he needs to get a patch on his own. They try to do some stuff, he and Sam, and they try to make a fire, or they search through leaves, trying to identify leaves, and it turns out to be poison ivy. And while all this stuff is happening, like Sam catches on fire later when they're doing a campfire.
Yeah, it
Matt-
all goes awry.
Right. And Matt has to get the first aid kit and help his dad. And so then in the end, we see he gets a first aid patch
Yeah,
or
he-
whatever.
Thanks to Joe recognizing that.
You know, he's like, oh, it's all just basic, training. And she's like, no, Matt, you earned your first patch.
Yeah. So we see Andy start being more like Lizzie. And she meets Gordon and Miranda, and they actually really like her. And I made a note about her outfit, Lizzie's outfit. It was the snow leopard or the white tiger shirt.
Oh, yeah.
And Andy has it on too. Now Andy also has blonde hair.
Yes.
Which is just like a
Shook.
trippy.
Yeah, she got her hair to Lizzie's level of blonde. Like she
Overnight.
ran to the salon and said, "Get me to this level."
And we know that is not how it goes.
Yeah.
So,
So,
and also, where were Andy's parents?
where were Andy's parents?
They must have been wealthy and just kind of they left her to
Aloof.
her own devices because she had enough money to buy all of Lizzie's clothes and get her hair done.
Yep.
True. They definitely were wealthy absentee parents.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Miranda and Gordo actually start to like Andy more, basically, or that's how Lizzie feels. And at this point, she's getting worried. And Gordo even says something like, if she wasn't a Sevy, I'd probably ask her out.
I know.
yeah.
Honestly,
And Lizzie goes, well, then why don't you may as well ask me out.
And he's like, why would I do that? And it's like, Gordo.
Gordo,
Yeah.
come on.
Come on, you clearly have a crush. It's like he just doesn't. It's like at times he realizes he has a crush, and then at other times he acts like he doesn't.
Right. We see a little montage where once again Lizzie has a nightmare.
Sarah and I quoted this all of the time as
All the
children.
time.
What was it?
We don't need you anymore. We have Andy now.
Oh.
And then also that you're my role model.
Role model.
Wow.
Yeah.
So Lizzie is freaked AF at this point, and she's like, I don't want to let Andy down, but I want to set a good example. But she's going to basically tell her, stop. Later in the episode, Lizzie's at home, and Andy is at her house, which are very creepy. And Lizzie snaps at Andy at this point, and she's still kind of gentle. And Andy kind of storms out. We know
And honestly,
that's over.
by Andy, because we were done with her way before that.
Way before that.
Oh, yeah. She just had done too many creepy things. Just straight up copying Lizzie, like stealing her style. But then beyond that, just being creepy, like going through her locker, rearranging her stuff, learning her schedule when Lizzie hadn't even told her.
And not just that, I think the most frustrating part was the Gordo and Miranda of it all.
Yeah.
Where
yeah,
they
weren't
just-
even creeped out by it. They were
They
like,
weren't-
oh, we like, Andy's great.
And they were totally
What?
discrediting Lizzie's feelings.
Yeah.
It was like they had no time.
So we see Andy now acting like Kate at school.
Oh,
so
yeah,
Kate
she's
is her
wearing-
new obsession.
Yeah,
and it's just
she's
like,
got the
of course.
same outfit as Kate
Yeah.
and everything, too.
And they do that whole like whatever, or with the
Yes.
fingers like Kate does. And the line here is live and learn. And I was just like, oh.
man.
So.
Yeah.
Then Lizzie and Miranda and Gordo are talking about it, and Lizzie says, Andy really should want to copy someone for important reasons and not superficial ones. And I was like, okay, that's true. Like, we should find good role models. And for me, Hilary Duff was that role model. So thank you, Hilary.
Yes.
Yes, and she has proven to be a great one.
Yeah.
She has. Yeah, and then the last thing I wrote down here is Gordo was like, you never figure out who you are if you're trying to be like someone else. So, mic drop.
Yeah.
Gordo, always.
Walk away.
Yeah. Our last episode is the Frankie Muniz episode, which so great to see him guest starring here. And this episode, if I can get it pulled, okay, it's called Lizzie in the Middle, and it premiered August 23rd, 2002. Were y'all Frankie Muniz? You said you watched Malcolm in the Middle?
Yeah, so I actually didn't watch it when it was like on the air.
Oh, okay.
But then, like, now as an adult, I've gone back and watched it, and it's hilarious. Like,
Yeah.
I think whenever I would try to watch it, it would be on, like, when I was younger. I was like, oh my gosh, like, these kids are so loud and, like, obnoxious. And then you watch it now, and it's like, that's the point, and that's the comedy of it.
Right.
But as a child, it stressed me out too
Yeah.
bad.
I feel like that was one of those shows, too, where, like, my parents didn't really want me to watch that show
Yeah,
because it was a little
same.
more mature. Like, it wasn't a Disney Channel show.
Right. It was, yeah. And I think it's funnier to me personally watching it as an adult. And it's like such a great show.
Mm-hmm.
And then I loved his work in the iconic film Big
My
Fat
Dog-
Liar
Oh, Big Fat Liar. I thought you were
Oh,
going to say
yeah.
My Dog
with
Skip.
Amanda Bynes.
Oh, I love Big Fat Liar.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's such a good movie.
Wait.
My Dog Skip. Do you remember that one?
Was Amanda Bynes not on that cover too?
Oh, did we
and
not
we
say
left her
her?
out.
We left
she
out
was.
Amanda
Oh,
Bynes.
poor Amanda Bynes.
Sorry, we remember you now, Amanda.
But Frankie Muniz, though, like, he was famous. Like, I knew who this was for sure.
Oh, yeah.
And a year later was when Agent Cody Banks came out, or
Yeah.
less than a
Yeah.
year. So I guess they would have filmed that.
I feel like,
around this time.
then that's probably why he was on
Right.
the episode,
For
was
sure.
because that movie was
Yeah.
going to be.
Well, no, why he was on was because he was friends with Mr. Dig.
Right.
Yeah, that's actually why he
That's why he was on.
Yeah. But they dated too, Lizzie and Frankie.
Yeah.
So we remember these things. But you're right. So the episode is about it starts off, Mr. Dig is the sub for drama class. I mean, he's the sub for every
Also,
class.
I love that
but-
he's just a sub.
Yeah.
You know what?
But he's
Can we
probably
give him a
the most-
promotion?
I love that it fits in with like he is a sub because he is like trying to be an actor maybe.
Yeah.
And that is how
Yeah.
supposedly, Frankie Muniz knows him and comes
Right,
back to
yeah.
visit him.
And he says that he taught Frankie Muniz everything he knows.
Which I believe.
Yeah, I believe that too.
Which Mr. Dick's a good teacher, so yeah.
I love Mr. Dig. But they are doing Romeo and Juliet this day. What else would you be doing? Of course. So Lizzie and Ethan are paired up to be Romeo and Juliet. And Frankie Muniz shows up because we've just learned, he's friends with Mr. Dig. And Ethan, here is a great Ethan line. He says, Frankie, how'd you get out of the TV? Which is just...
And I'm kind of like, come on, Ryder. Like, Ethan was not that clueless, surely.
Some
you
episodes
know?
he's not, for sure.
Right, yeah, they work it to their advantage, whichever way they need him.
So then Frankie kind of takes over the role of Romeo for a hot second. And he asks Lizzie out, like basically right there. And that is huge. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
At lunch, he asks her out like on a date, and she says she doesn't know, which I was like, poor Frankie though. He ends up coming to her house, I guess, that night, and he just wants to talk. So she invites him inside. And again, I'm like, why is Lizzie inviting people in her house? Because her parents are like the most embarrassing.
Yeah.
Or I always thought they were.
Well, and especially like not even just a random boy, like a famous boy.
And then, they end up having such a great time.
Right.
Just like with the whole family, which Lizzie is surprised because she's like, this never happens. Like, we never have fun
family
together
time,
like this.
It's like family game night, basically.
Yeah.
They play Scrabble. They do like charades and stuff.
Yeah.
Frankie also says to Lizzie and Matt that you look nothing alike, and they're like, thank you. Which I thought was great. And honestly, like, I feel like, I mean, sure, like Hilary and Jake Thomas don't necessarily look alike, but when you throw like the whole family together, I'm like, yeah, they look like a family.
Like they could be a family.
Like Matt kind of looks like the dad. Lizzie looks like the mom.
Yeah,
I could see it.
Yeah, the casting director was good at like putting together people who looked like they could be a family. Sometimes you have to really like suspend disbelief to like believe that a TV family is a family, but they do. They all kind of look like they could be.
Yeah, for sure. Their next little meetup is at the Digital Bean, and Frankie is disguised because, he's famous and people are going to recognize him. And he walks in with, sunglasses on and a jacket, and Lizzie's like, Frankie, over here, to come sit with Miranda and Gordo and her. And then everybody, like, floods. And
they get their picture made.
Yeah. No selfies back then, though. So this was, like, the day of the autograph. But Lizzie, Miranda, and Gordo, they try to rescue him, and they end up putting Gordo in Frankie's, like, little disguise outfit. And they're like, go get Frankie Muniz, you guys. Lizzie makes the front page of the newspaper with Frankie, and I loved how Joe was like, oh, this is not a good picture of Miranda.
And, like, they're just, like, the two unidentified friends. They don't even figure out, like, they don't even care about finding their names. And that's so true. Like, to life of how you see that in magazines.
Yeah. And honestly, that's kind of what happens with the friend or Miranda and Gordo, because Lizzie keeps hanging out with Frankie. There's paparazzi. There's all this attention. She's famous at this point. And like, Matt's storyline, by the way, is he's trying to sell her out.
Yeah, he says he's her entourage, and then just starts selling her belongings to the paparazzi that are hanging around.
I love how he like takes a tour of the house and like tells all the things.
Lizzie does have a chat with Joe about what's going on, and she says she wants her life back. She doesn't want to be famous. And Joe is like, you should probably break things off with Frankie. You should probably talk to him. And basically they break up, which is kind of sad, but it's very like amicable. And he's like, sorry, I'm messing up your life. And they can still call and email, like not text. Yeah. We're going to email.
Yeah, text
in
wasn't
2002.
a thing yet. Yeah.
So it was sweet. I mean, it was fine.
It was sweet, and it was fun to see like the fame part of it. You know, they didn't try to make Frankie come in and be just like some random person that wasn't famous. So that was kind of interesting too.
Yeah, he didn't play like a character.
He got to play himself.
Yeah. And Frankie also gives her a little invite to his movie set. And not only is she going to be just watching the set, she also gets to be in the movie. He also invited Gordo and Miranda. That's when they all make up, and they're like, oh, we're gonna be friends again, because that always happens on this show.
Yeah.
And the movie, it's a TV movie, and it's called Rosenstiel. Yeah. And her line is, Rosen, you forgot these keys. And she throws him the keys, and he's like, thanks, babe. And they're watching it at the end, and Lizzie's like, never let me go on TV again. And so, that's that episode. It was cute.
It was cute.
Yeah, I liked the range of episodes we got. It worked out that those are some of the ones I actually remembered best.
Yes.
That's our 5 episodes, guys, and they were fun.
They were
good episodes. Yeah. The only one that I don't really love is the Just Like Lizzie. Like, I could do without that one.
Yeah, same.
Well, as we finish up, guys, like, just overall thoughts on Lizzie McGuire, like the impact that it had on your childhood. I mean, the show is everything.
It was everything.
It was. I feel like too, for us, it's like they were just enough older, the characters, that they were like cool and like something that I feel like we both kind of were like aspiring toward.
Yeah.
Everything about it was just so great. Her room, I wanted my room to look like hers.
She had a nice room.
She did. It was just awesome. And I just looked up, I finally got my internet to work, and Josh Hartnett is in Pearl Harbor. So that's probably what he's best known in.
Yeah. But he
was more of just like a heartthrob at the time.
I gotcha. Any other thoughts on like Hilary Duff? Anything, guys?
I'm just proud of her for, like we talked about, kind of staying out of scandal and sort of overcoming the like child teen actor like trap that a lot of people who live that life and are actors and famous so young, you know, fall into. So I think, you know, she just continues to be such a good role model for people, and that's really admirable.
Yeah. At what point do y'all remember finding out that I was obsessed with Hilary Duff? I'm curious.
I feel like we've known that for forever.
Yeah,
Okay.
It's like I can't remember not knowing that.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what everyone says.
Yeah.
But y'all know me for so much longer. But
Yeah.
So I always kind of say like the Tim McGraw song by Taylor Swift.
Yes,
Not to
when
bring
you
Taylor
think-
Swift into this.
When you think Hilary Duff.
I hope you think of me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know.
We do.
Good. That's good. All right. All right, guys. Well, that's it. Thanks so much for being on the show. This has been fun. Y'all took
Thank you
great notes.
so
Y'all
much.
remembered everything.
Thank you for having us.
Yes.
Yes. All
We
right.
enjoyed it.
And that's all for this episode of Duff Enough. Thanks again for listening. I hope you'll subscribe and stick around for more, because this podcast is what dreams are made of. You can follow along on social media at Duff Enough Pod, and check the description for my socials as well as show guests. And until next time, bye Team Duff.